guys, now it is time to install our system inside the GD08. It's very simple. The first thing we're going to do is there is a good enough room that you could install your motherboard without taking this piece out, but to install the rest of your drives and everything, you're going to want to take this large piece out. And to do that, you have to remove 2, 4, 6 screws. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to take this out right now. Now that you have all 6 screws removed, all you do is simply pull up these handles and pull this out here. And this is where all your drives are going to be installed. We're going to get into that in a second. We're going to install our motherboard next. Now that we actually have this large drive section removed, we can actually really easily install the motherboard. So what you want to do is take your motherboard here, and we're using an Asus P9 X79 Pro X79 board. It's a full ATX board. This case surprisingly can fit up to an extended ATX motherboard, so you have a lot of options here. You're not really limited to micro ATX or something like that. You can really fit, you know, pretty big cases or pretty big motherboards in here. So let's go ahead and put this in nice and easily here, just like that. And you're of course going to line it up and screw it in. You can see that we still have quite a bit of room in here. I mean, once the drive section goes in, it's going to be a little crowded, but you can see there is quite a lot of room inside here. Before you get the drives in and everything like that, I would suggest running cables. I've already run my SATA cables, and one thing you want to make sure about your SATA cables is if your SATA ports are at a 90-degree angle this way, you may want to even install the SATA cables before you put the motherboard inside the case. I didn't have that much trouble getting them in, but if your motherboard's a little bit longer, you may have some trouble there. You also want to run all your fan connectors, everything like that, before you go ahead and get your drives in and everything like that. We're going to do the power supply, which is our FSP RM Pro 850 watt. It's a modular power supply, so we're not going to have as many cables as a non-modular power supply. Should go in pretty simply here. Solid way. You know, just simply set it in here and get it in right below our motherboard. And of course, we are going to secure it with screws and then run all of our cables. Now that we have our power supply secured with screws, we ran both the CPU power and the 24-pin ATX power. It is a little messy in here. We are going to clean it up a little bit, but I just wanted to show you, you know, you're not going to be able to take the CPU power around the back of this or anything like that like a normal case. And again, this is a home theater PC case, so it's really not made for perfect wire management or anything like that. So here we have our one very, very large drive cage. You can fit a lot of drives in here, but the first thing you're going to want to install is your optical drive. We just have a simple Blu-ray drive here. And so this is the front, you guys can see that, and this of course is the back that's going to be facing into the PC. For your optical drive, you want to put them in this way, so you can just simply slide this in here, get it lined up. There we go, and slide it nicely in there. And then what you're going to do is on the sides here, if you guys can see, there are your holes right here where you can line this up exactly where you need it to be, and of course screw it in properly. Now as you can see, we do have our optical drive fully secured with 4 screws. There's no screws on the other side, so they all go in right over here. Now interestingly enough, this case does support 2.5-inch hard drives, and they actually go right above your optical drive. So if we set this back down here, we can grab our drive, which is an OCZ Vertex 4, normal 2.5-inch solid-state drive. And what you actually do is flip it upside down like this, and you can slide it in here. And there are 4 screw holes, which you can line up here, just like that. And you can easily screw this in. Now, one thing you may want to do is you may want to connect your SATA cable already. There are these 2 little openings right here that allow you to get your cables in there, which we're going to see once we get everything installed how easy it is. But this is how you do it, and it does support 2. So you can put 1 here, and if I move it over, there are 4 more screw holes on this side. Line these up just like that. So you can easily put in 2 solid-state drives that go right above your optical drives. Now I just wanted to show you that we do have our solid-state drive installed. And again, there are these openings right here that you can see that you can easily should be easy enough to maneuver your SATA power and data cables right in there to easily connect them. The rest of the section of the cage right here is made for 3.5-inch hard drives. So we just have a normal 3.5-inch hard drive. You can fit quite a few in here. They go in really easily. All you do is simply just line one of these up. Let's say we'll put it right in here, and you kind of squeeze it in there, and you just line up the holes, which we have lined up right there. And of course, you are going to screw it in to secure it. 3 screws at the top, and there is one on the other side, which I'll show you. Just again to show you, we do have 3 screws installed right here on our 3.5-inch hard drive. If we flip this around here, you can see there is another screw right here, so it's not holding on by the 3 screws on that side. And all on the inside of this part of this cage is this rubber right here, not like a rubber, but I guess like a thicker soft cloth here, so you're not going to really damage things when you're installing, and things go in nice and smoothly. So now is the sort of moment of truth. What you're actually going to have to do is move all your cables to this side, put them on top of your motherboard, as you can see I've done. Get them all out of the way, get everything out of the way right here, because we're actually going to take this up here, and it should go on here pretty easily. You just want to make sure, again, all your cables are out of the way, and you nicely slide it in there. And we are pretty much in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a second, I'm going to secure this, and I'm going to plug in all of my cables. And I already see an issue which some people might get as well, which I'll go over in just a second. Alright, now I do have everything installed, everything plugged in, power, data, everything. Now, here are some issues that I ran into. One, our CPU cooler is here, which is a lower profile CPU cooler, obviously not the smallest, but it is smaller than a lot of them. Right here, I was able to connect these, but just barely, and luckily enough, I do have, our power supply has these I guess flat cables, because I'm able to get this SATA power just in here. But obviously, if you're going to have 2 drives, we only have 1 optical drive. If you're going to have one below this, it's going to be pretty much impossible to connect your cables after you have your motherboard in here. So that's just a heads up. I think you should really connect everything in here first, unlike the way I did it. So connect everything in here, and then as you're putting it in, connect everything else. That's just going to be the easiest way, but you still might run into issues with larger memory that's going to block this second optical drive, and your CPU cooler. So you really want to watch out for that. Now, I was able to easily connect power and data right here to my 2.5-inch drive, 3.5-inch drive, no problem. The only thing is too, is I have a lot of cables here. They're kind of all over the place. Airflow in this is not going to be optimal, I know that. I still have to install my video card, but the installation was pretty easy. It didn't take that long at all. It's just a lot of cables. I kind of overdid it. This obviously isn't what you would put in a home theater PC, but I kind of just wanted to show how much you could fit in here. But there still is, like I said, a lot of cable mess and everything like that, and you really can't clean that up. So I originally wanted to install this card, which is a GTX 560 Ti. As you can see, it's not going to fit. And just for reference, on the other side, we have our Radeon 6950. Definitely not fitting. So I'm kind of limited here, so I just went with this small little Sapphire all-in-one solution right here, which should go in nice and easily. Just like that. And of course, this does use one of these bay covers, so we'll have to put that back on and, screw everything in. So now that I have everything installed, you can see it still is a little bit cluttered, and there's really not much you can do about that. Like I said, there is not a lot of room to route cables. Now, of course, I installed a normal ATX motherboard and has a normal CPU cooler on it. So a lot of people building home theater PC might not be doing that, but I just did it because that's what this case supports. So I kind of wanted to show you guys that. Again, I did run into problems right here with our optical drives. And if I had a second optical drive in there, it would be almost impossible to connect the SATA power and data cables after I already had my motherboard installed. You do have a ton of storage space. So again, if you're using this for a media center, you have room for a lot of 3.5-inch hard drives, 2.5-inch hard drives, and 2 optical drives. So a lot of room for storage. But again, this is the SilverStone Grandia GD08 home theater PC. Check on Think Computers for the full written review. And remember, if you like our videos, why don't you subscribe? Catch you guys later.